Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the MI podcast. On this podcast, we have covered a lot of different marketing topics. My objective for this podcast was basically, initially since I am a marketer and, people have a lot of doubts about, how people work on the back end. Today, when you Google anything on YouTube, you can see, general processes or somebody teaching something. But I feel there's importance of theory, but practically when you go about it, people who have worked in that, say you've worked in a particular industry, you've done a particular campaign, you've done a kind of marketing, so you have certain revelations. So the people behind the scenes of it, who are actually working in the industry at that time, so that you get a better outlook of this. That's why I kind of reach out to people and have these kind of episodes. I enjoy. They also in the process, and you all also get a good outlook into kind of marketing in a particular industry or a type of marketing. Awesome. So today's topic is an interesting one. I had done earlier an episode about luxury marketing, but I think we will dive a bit deeper into this because there is a kind of a demand. There are a lot of companies over the last 3-4 years, startups that have come within the luxury spaces because over a period of the last, I would say, 10 years, because of digitalization, India's economy has just gone stronger. And as the companies have done well, the major unicorns in the world have become. So the people who are part of it managing, they have also come into the super elite category. And then there is another industry opened up of catering to their needs. So mainly when you say luxury industry, is day-to-day needs would be within the lifestyle, and then obviously fashion as well. So awesome. So today I have special guests with me. They are from founders of 12101. So welcome Riddhi and welcome Rahim.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Nikhil, for having us. Thank you so much.
Awesome. So where are you all joining us from?
Hyderabad.
Awesome, awesome. So most of the people, in marketing and all, you perceive like you're from Mumbai and then in the fashion in Delhi. So what was it about Hyderabad there? You all shifted up and set up base there.
Honestly, I think it was really just more to do with destiny and where, for me, I mean, Rahim's been Hyderabad based, and for me, I actually came here taking up a job, which didn't quite work out. And, thank God for that because 12101 wouldn't have happened then, and we wouldn't have, kind of met and gotten together and done this. So for me, it was actually a shift from Bombay, which is like the hub of luxury, to Hyderabad. And in a way, I think it's been great because a lot of people feel like, most cities apart from Delhi and Bombay don't really function or operate as actively in the lifestyle luxury space, especially fashion, if they're in other cities. And I feel like that's kind of wrong. And we probably are like the living examples of that because we have brands all over the world, including every city in India, including Hyderabad. And I think it's been great, touch wood. So yeah, I think it's just.
Awesome. And you both, you can just describe it, you both coming together and forming this. How did that happen?
So, so basically, both of us, really come from the mindset of, empowerment and growth, where, we both, find so much happiness and so much joy in watching people grow, uh, you know, against, the the world that we live in, that, people are, down to like, pulling each other down and, competing and just the industry standard, right? But like I said, both of us find immense joy in watching people grow, succeed, taking things to another level and just growing. And that's when, I mean, it was when we got talking about the industry that Riddhi had been in, which is fashion and luxury. And then we both got talking about certain things, and how there's so much potential, how there's so many good brands, there's so many good businesses, but just not that right kind of hand holding or the right kind of pathway for them to be able to maximize and capitalize on their potential. That's when 12101 came into existence, and that's how Riddhi and I started.
Awesome, awesome. So I think we'll for the audience, if just a brief about you all can give. So I'll start with Riddhi.
Sure. So for me, I've had actually a really crazy trajectory of work, and it's been very crazy because I started off, in the art space, nothing to do with luxury, lifestyle, or fashion. And I was a professional, I have been a professionally trained dancer. For about a good 15, 16 years. And that's kind of how I started off. I launched a creative arts studio space, a community center in Bombay. Called House of Wow, which was very exciting and a totally different venture from what I'm doing currently. But when most people start something of their own, they'd never really shift to a job.
Mhm.
And for me, that was the opposite. I started something of my own, but I wanted to explore corporate. And that's how I kind of got into eventually fine jewelry. I then went into corporate fine jewelry where I was working with a lot of great organizations and companies to kind of help scale their sales and their business growth. So for me, I've always come from the business revenue development background, the brand space and brand positioning background. I've always kind of been in that space, and that's how then jewelry happened. Eventually, I said, okay, let me explore more, in terms of lifestyle and luxury. That's how fashion happened, and then eventually, 1-101 happened. So I've kind of done different gigs and stints in different spaces. I was actually executive vice president of a large fashion house before I started 1-101. So I gave that up. And I felt like, no, I need to do something more empowering and something more giving. I wanted to give back in a larger way. And that's kind of where
That's
1-101
right.
started.
I think Riddhi, you can also share light on for like as a marketer now you're in the business of marketing, like having a varied experience like this. How does it help over a period of different businesses and handling different kind of clients, industries, and all? How it has helped you?
Sure. So I think it also sensitizes you, to different kinds of people. That's very important because
Mm.
today it's not really about just going out there, managing a brand, scaling them up, scaling their revenue. It's also a lot about the brand psyche. It's all about the founder's psyche, their vision. And, for me, because I've been so closely associated with arts and culture and different, like whether it's corporate sales for jewelry or whether it's luxury fashion, it's also I've worked so closely with mindsets of so many different people, and that really adds value, to what we bring to the table as a leader or as a a path breaker or as a way shower to a lot of these brands because it sensitizes you to really what and how different people perceive different brands as, which I felt probably wouldn't have been as enriching if I was only kind of focused on one industry or if I was only kind of confined to working in one space. So that really helped because it breaks barriers emotionally, psychologically, and also a lot to do with understanding different psyches.
That's it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's very well put. I mean, for creative people, when I mean people are students and they're coming up, they're learning different, could be art forms. The
Right.
main reason was that maybe if you don't pursue it professionally, but you learn so many nuances of people, understanding them, and how do you kind of connect on a heart to heart level, because that is what
Right.
art is about. And also obviously campaigns, you have to have that connection to break through the clutter basically. So
Right.
Rahim, then we can you can elaborate like about yourself, your background, and we'll get a
Sure.
good understanding of that. Yeah.
Sure. So, just like Riddhi, I also come from a very vast, very varied background. I actually started off as an industrialist, where it was a family-run business. We started, we had an industry where we manufactured mouth fresheners. Post that, I moved into the interior designing space. Again, had started my own, had my own firm. And it was during this time I realized how much I'm I love creating and conceptualizing and basically coming up with ideas and creating something out of nothing. And that's when I got to conceptualizing shows for OTT platforms. And it was around this time that I was working on a project of mine that Riddhi, I actually like coaxed Riddhi into being a part of that project, and it became our project. And And yeah, and that's like I said earlier, like we got talking about how there's so much potential, and that's when we got to 1 to 101. And yeah, and thank God for the job that Riddhi had taken up in Hyderabad. Because if it wasn't for that, yeah, like she said, rightly said, that we wouldn't have been here. So yeah, that's
That's right. So
my
I think, well, the
it's
first time you all connected also was through the Hyderabad in the job, and that's the thing.
So no, I mean it's really funny because that's what we talk about destiny. Because Rahim has stayed in
Yeah.
Bombay. We did know each other through common friends, but we never really interacted or discussed work or
Hmm.
anything. When he was in Bombay, which is where I've grown up all
Hmm.
my life, but I had to come to Hyderabad. I had to do this. I had to interact with him, and that's how we reconnected. And I said, okay, let's do it.
Like to know about the how the luxury industry, the landscape of it within India. What all in terms of what's kind of the umbrella, what all product services come under it, and then we'll get a deeper, because then we should talk a little bit more about the industry. Then we get into marketing. You have to understand the base of the thing and that. So if you can like kind of take us over there, like paint a kind of picture so that we get more
Sure.
clarity.
Sure. So as of now, if we talk about India, right, luxury has primarily the two core categories would be, or segregations for luxury, would be luxury products and luxury services. Now, today, of course, there was a time back in maybe, I would say 5 or 7, 8 years ago, where the luxury products kind of held precedence over, the services. People were more kind of oriented towards the more tangible aspects of luxury, right? Whether it was an Hermes bag, whether it was, going to get a good pair of Gucci shoes, the Pradas, the Valentinos of the world, right? However, today, people are talking more about the experience of owning an Hermes bag, which becomes a service. It becomes, it kind of gets categorized as, providing a service which is experiential along with owning the ownership of that product. So there's a lot of shift. The paradigm shift is extremely evident. But more than anything, I think there are lots of upcoming startups in the luxury service space that are doing exceptional work, whether it's something which could be, like a private service of pickup and deliveries, where even your laundry, something as basic as that, which is a lifestyle need, it's an everyday need, that has become premium and luxury, just the way it's delivered, the way it's picked up, the whole experience of it. So I feel luxury has become a much wider concept. It's not
Hmm.
really pertaining to the price point of a product, or it isn't really that, because a lot of people today, I feel like the purchasing power of people has overall just enhanced over the last 5 or 6 years. A lot more people have access to a lot more, and
Hmm.
that overall shift has been very prominent. And essentially I feel like, yes, there is still an extreme amount of importance given to how you kind of categorize a product industry versus a service industry, because service we feel is very it depends from person to person. What could be luxury for me may not be luxury for you, Nikhil, right? So that is
That's
very variable. But overall, yes, there's been a lot to do with, I feel like today, even weddings, the whole wedding scene, the whole occasion event management scene, the wedding management scene has really gone off the roof, because everything is so premium. Everybody wants, even the most intimate weddings can be very, very luxurious, right? So the
that's
offerings are very different today. The way it's projected, the way it's presented, the whole presentation is so important today of everything. We manage a desserts brand. It's a very premium desserts brand. And I think the whole idea of what they do is presentation. And that's why people feel like, oh, this is so premiumly presented to me. This has to be luxury. This is luxury for me, because I feel I have, the right to own something which is so beautifully presented. So also that aspect of things come into luxury today. So it's a very wide spectrum of things, and that's kind of how the landscape of just the Indian luxury space has been shifting over the past few months. And I feel another very important factor here is luxury. The concept of luxury is evolving every quarter. I wouldn't even say annually anymore. Like every
Hmm.
3 or 4 or 5 months, you see a different aspect of luxury come in, whether
Hmm.
it's technology, whether it's AI, whether it's having machines take care of your housework, robots, whether it's anything to do with any industry. It's not, luxury is not pertaining to one. And that's why it's very important to define luxury, because everyone has a very
That's
different
right.
definition of it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, within luxury, I mean more, personalization and the experience you are creating could be the same thing, but it's just an enhancement of a particular experience. Riddhi, so if you see over the last, I would say 7 8 years, where you have general FMCG, like there'd be a chocolate manufacturer would generally, so majorly their business comes from a 30 40 rupee chocolate, but they are then exploring that 1,000 rupee 2,000 rupee, a chocolate within that. So you think that also would be within a luxury space where you have an ultra premium product of your same, like one category of your product?
So, honestly, Nikhil, that's actually a really good question, because I feel like that's a lot more to do with the consumer's purchasing power and need,
Mhm.
rather than
That's
what
it.
the industry or the product or the brand is offering.
That's it.
Yes, definitely, it is not a mass stage product anymore, right? If it's not in a price point that we feel is a reasonable one.
Mhm.
And it is definitely catering to a more premium audience, but I feel that catering or that offering has more to do with the consumer wanting that. And that's why a lot
Mhm.
of brands today are offering that, because people want that.
Mhm.
So it's more to do with,
That's
I
it.
feel like, the purchasing power, more than,
That's it.
I don't think a brand like a mass brand like a Cadbury, or anybody, like, just pick any mass brand that is into,
Mhm.
catering to a higher price point category or demography. I
That's it.
don't think they are looking at, okay, yes, they're definitely saying, okay, we want to go a little more premium with things, but they're not looking at it from a very marketing branding aspect that, no, I want to be the next Louis Vuitton. No, it's not that. It is, there is a need, a consumer wants it, we're going to give it to them before anybody else does. So it's more
That's
that.
right. That's right. Yes.
Just to add on to that, when you're mentioning Cadbury, just to give you the example of the same product, I believe I think when I was, I'm talking probably when I was 15 or 16. I still remember those 16 pieces wala Cadbury dairy milk uh, we used to sell for 15 rupees, and the same thing is being sold for about 45 or 50 rupees right now.
Mhm.
That's just a market shift. But they also created a Cadbury silk chocolate, which is a more premium, a more premiumly priced, a more premium packaging, so to say, right? And that is probably, to cater to a different segment of the market where, okay, it's it's a little more appealing in its visual. It's got a little more different of, a different kind of a texture. It's got, a different kind of premium packaging, which is more like, it won't tear off so easily. And then there is another under packaging which is even more premium. So that is just catering to a different market, and they've priced it. I think when they started, they priced it around 80 rupees or something, and now the same thing is going for around 200 rupees or 180 rupees or something. So it's
That's
just,
right.
it's how the segment has shifted. Like, Riddhi mentioned, it's become so much about the experience now than, what you're actually buying. Because very honestly, at the end of the day, you're eating the same dairy milk chocolate.
That's right.
It's just the experience of owning that bigger bar and the more, the better looking packaging,
Yeah,
so to
because
say, to
like if
experience.
you're gifting also, then that's a better
Absolutely.
thing to give.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
That's right. I was discussing this with certain marketers who work in these FMCG companies. So what is basically happening is that when you have that, the smallest product like the 10 rupees dairy milk, that would be still a major market. And they obviously with shrinkflation, they are kind of reducing the grams of that. They
The
have to sell it
size.
at the
The
same
size.
price because you lose
Yes.
out on such a huge market. But then the companies are not making money. So even then they look at categories, say even it could be like hardly 10%, but you're making maximum profit in that. So they are then getting into
Yes.
these ultra premium ones also, or just premium ones. So that is how, obviously, for the company to be profitable, they have to, more than a market need, it is also kind of a company need. So that's kind of interesting how that is coming about. And in every category in FMCG, consumer durables, and even electronics and all, you have these premium categories that have to be established, and marketing is done accordingly.
Correct.
Awesome. So, Rahim, with like the luxury industry, the shopping experience, is also has to be enhanced. Like that is the one of the main reasons where you kind of the ultra they will go to these kind of malls and stores and all, and they have you have to have give them that level of experience and that that proof, that social proof or whatever you call that when they are there. So what do you feel of technologies that were like for one example was there where was very popular, it had gone viral. I'm not sure whether how many places are implementing it, is where you have a particular mirror and it kind of scans and then it shows you in a particular dress, like when you're buying in an apparel store. So like
Right.
these, what do you feel, what are the kind of technologies coming out to enhance the luxury shopping experience?
So, like you rightly mentioned, the mirror that you're talking about, which is a very VR feature, or integrated with an AI, an artificial intelligence, that's actually like really coming up. I was actually just going to talk about it when we were talking about technology, because that's something that gives so much of an ease. And I think I'm not sure. If it was Amazon that had started this, or if it was one of the other websites, online shopping portals that had started a virtual trial room,
Hmm.
where there is a certain piece of clothing that you like on their website, and you're just scrolling through it, but you're not sure how it'll look on you. And they have this feature where you click on try me now kind of a thing, and like you put yourself, you put yourself in front of a mirror with the dress on your screen, and there's some kind of
Yeah.
integration, and
Yeah, like
that has actually given
taking a picture basically. Like I think that
picture.
is now
Yes.
going forward. Just I think in a few months that will come up, because I have seen certain apps where you take a picture and then they'll show
Yes.
you with that. It's kind of basic only. There'll not be any more to see,
Basic. Yes.
but still
So
like
in
that is just
fact,
kind of a starting point. Yeah.
for one of our brands, we had actually we are actually still exploring this option. It's a brand based in Chennai, which we've been able to successfully launch very recently, and we have been exploring this option of having an AI mirror. Where all these designer clothes that they rack, it becomes so much easier for a consumer to walk into the store and say, because a lot of these heavy couture pieces, they don't, like, people don't have a lot of sizes in them. So for someone to come into a store and not be able to try it is sort of disheartening in a fact, in a way. And so we came up with an idea, and then we thought that if we could explore this side where we have the same thing, the mirror, yet with a set of VR glasses, where you're able to see that dress while you see yourself, in that particular outfit, and you're able to decide whether it fits your need, it fits your body type, it fits your the occasion that you're buying for, if it's uh, overall giving the experience. So yes, I mean, AI, in terms of a lot of this in the industry, is being used a lot of VR. I think VR is still a little like old now, because it's still integrated, but it's sort of a little old now. But yes, a lot of AI tools,
Understood.
um, right?
Yeah, I think when it
Um,
started off, it was more, you get the eyeballs when you see that. Like even there is a interest that comes around from the public. They will then visit that store. So it's not
yes.
like that functional. It's kind of to get the eyeballs to you, kind of going inside that
Yes.
store. But now I think functionality based, it's kind of like a lot of developments are happening within that. So, Riddhi,
Yes.
any other things like you are looking at where in terms of the technology, where it's making it more personalized or some a better experience for the ultra premium shoppers?
Sure. So, I mean, honestly, I was going to mention what you both discussed already, but I also feel like technology is something that's incorporated overall and not just to enhance luxury shopping. I feel just to enhance shopping, and that's become a thing because I'll tell you why. When it comes to luxury, I feel yes, the use of technology is also for them to feel a lot more special, a lot more like, okay, I'm given the service and offer the service in a much more differently packaged way. But when it comes to just shopping in general, I feel it's a lot of ease, and people just want to save time. They don't want to spend so much time in, just the experience has to be shortened, but has to be memorable. And that's very
True.
important. And I feel that's what technology is doing today. It is about easing their whole process, whether it's just going on an e-com site and shopping for a, 50,000 lenga or a 80,000 lenga. It is how quick do I do that? How fast is that technology being able to help me? And that is essentially because I just feel like people are in a rat race. They don't have the time anymore. The way people, our grandfathers and our fathers have shopped, or our mothers and grandmothers used to do this. They had a lot of time at hand. Today, everyone's doing 17 things in one day, but they want to still have that, I need to shop and I have something, or I'm spending so much money, I need the best of it. How do I do it in the fastest way possible? I think it's also that perspective that brings in the importance of technology in the whole shopping experience.
That's right. That's right. The luxury, I mean, that store, the Geo World Plaza that launched. So there are certain features that they have got, which is kind of interesting, where you are making it more personalized. So firstly, you will have the facility where you have the person, I think, accompanying you. There is like a shopping assistant or something. So that is
Yeah,
one
like
Personal shopper.
interesting.
private personal
Yeah. So he
shopping
will
is
do the
Personal shopper.
whole.
Yeah.
Because sometimes obviously on a functional level when you enter the store, you it's difficult to kind of go through every, you don't know what. So if you mention that to the kind of the personal assistant, so that is something I think that is kind of new within the luxury space, that you're getting that. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. And in fact, there was also this whole idea and concept at some point that, I know internationally a couple of really big companies were coming up with, which were, mall carts, like the way they have golf
Mm.
carts, and just
That's it.
having a cart in the mall to take you from one space to another, because it's so much of
Mm.
walking in these malls. And I thought that was a
Yes, yes.
great idea. It was a great concept, because that is what luxury is. And that is what, experiential shopping is. So I feel like even things like that are eventually going to come to India very soon, and people are going to be able to access that.
That's right. That's right. Um, I mean, within the shopping experience where you're using technology, so there is another example wherein they obviously have a track of everything. Like it could be through a login or some virtual QR login. So they have a kind of a understanding of your preferences or something, and then they can kind of showcase. So the person assistant in the show can showcase those things to you. So those kind of things, anything you want to elaborate on that you have kind of worked on or you've heard about?
Right.
So no, I mean, when you're talking about the personal shopper experience, it has been going on for a while now. When you're talking about a mall part, yes, that is new, where somebody is, taking you through the mall, but in terms of like having personal shoppers and stuff like that, it has been going on. It is actually a known profession.
Hmm.
Personal shoppers are actually it's a very known profession for years now, where but that's very store centric.
Hmm.
So say I step into a store where I'm looking to buy certain things, and there's going to be somebody who's going to be accompanying me, uh, you know uh, to get what I need, right? Now, in terms of the change today in the ease of shopping, uh, everything is very readily available everywhere. Now, if I'm like walking into a store, I feel like um, I probably know everything that's there, but at the same time I still want to like experience what is that one little different thing. And for that, I believe there have been especially in the luxury segment, there have been incorporations where the sense of giving you the scent, that fragrance, right, that will keep you feeling like you're in a luxury space, or that a visual something that visually pleases your senses. And these little experiences, these little things add up to what your experience could be. So I think technology in terms of shopping, I still feel, does not very much like ease your experience. Like, Riddhi said, nobody has really the time today, but more so people don't have the patience to wait to wait for their turn, or just wait for somebody to, like, attend to them also. So
That's
yeah, I
it.
mean, I believe it's,
Yeah, so
yeah,
I feel like the experience that is given, I mean, you want that a better experience because you can shop for certain things online where you're coming to the store, you want something, a whole package happening, whether it is entertainment or personalization or a
yes,
better interaction with the people there. That is something. So those are some pointers to work on. Whoever work within, I think, retail. How do you kind of bring that about? So definitely a lot of things with data. When I mentioned that where you kind of scan and go through, they can kind of identify. There's a very specific, very personalized approach because they have certain data points. It's like when you go, I think work with a company, so they were like a particular software when you go in a restaurant. So they get a certain with AI certain data points from where what you have eaten or something about you or something like that,
So in fact,
and
that's
they give a better experience. Yeah.
no, absolutely. Sorry to interrupt. So that actually is a very interesting point because yes, that has happened a lot in a lot of these luxury stores because of the access to that data. A lot of
Hmm.
these people now, when they get into a store and like say a store has a new collection, they already know that their shopper has already purchased something similar to like a Birkin, for
Hmm.
instance, and there's a variation or a variation of a Birkin that is coming. That's
Hmm.
what a merchandiser or a stylist in that
Hmm.
store is going to recommend because they know that they've liked a particular kind of product. But
Hmm.
having said that, today a lot of people don't call themselves salespeople. They're not. They're
Hmm.
all personal stylists. So if you go to into any
Yeah.
luxury store today, they're all stylists. Why? Because if you purchase one product, they'll tell you exactly what will look good with that product
Hmm.
to accompany it to shop three more products. So
Hmm.
that's what the difference between a salesperson and a stylist is. And I think that
Hmm.
concept has also come about, of course, because of the use of technology and other aspects, but even generally for the experience as a whole.
Hmm.
So I think
That's
that's,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, better experience is what we look for. Like even especially people in super is they are used to people keep on selling to them, right? So when if you enter a store and also that is happening, that is not a good experience. So you have to have people at the same wavelength at least where he is kind of like assisting you, or the whole process is being made a bit easier, convenient, and also a great interaction that is happening. So that is something, I mean, these marketers within that or retail people, they can kind of work on. Awesome. So, if you all seen over the, I mean, the last 10 years, you've seen all these e-commerce companies come up in a really big way, and you have D2C brands as well. So, what do you feel, Riddhi, is a consumer behavior impact? Like, because of all this, like, things are available online, you can buy it. So, what is the impact on the luxury market, which is generally, you would say, more, excuse me, personalized? It's not like you just buy something off a cart or something. How do you think that is impacted by the luxury industry?
So honestly, I'll be very honest. This is my opinion. The
Hmm.
people who are spenders, high spenders, or the HNIs, or people who are, people who do kind of believe in that the experiential factor of their shopping, they have not kind of moved to online shopping as much.
Hmm.
So the people who originally did go to a Chanel or a Dior store and shop, they are still doing that. That is
Hmm.
not kind of moved. But what has definitely happened over the years is I feel like a lot of people now, of course, we have things like the Geo World Plaza and we have the Palladium in Bombay and we have some really amazing, like the DLF in Delhi. We have a lot of big shopping experiences here in India today in the luxury space. But I do kind of feel that people are still traveling a lot out of India and having, their shopping sprees, or they do it like a once a year, twice a year, they go shop, come back. That is
Hmm.
also happening. So I honestly don't feel like the rise of e-commerce has impacted that demography of people because people who
That's
have
right.
been, luxury shoppers are still doing that. To be honest, Nikhil, I don't think it's really
That's
that
right.
group that's impacted. I feel it's more the premium shoppers are the people who want to shop fast fashion, the people who want to keep
Hmm.
shopping, regular shoppers. For them, I think, yes, definitely their in store presence has decreased tremendously because everything is online. From a
That's right.
Zara to an H&M to a Massimo to I mean, you just name it, they're all online
Hmm.
today. And actually a lot easier to shop online. There are a lot more products to see. Some people feel like
Hmm.
the collections aren't enough in the store. So I feel online has become
That's
way
right.
better for them.
That's right. So, Riddhi, I mean, in terms of, so that's very, interesting to know that it has not affected at all. So, the people who are going to these high-end stores, let's just say in fashion and apparel, they are continuing so that industry. So, maybe that could be the reason why these investments in these huge luxury spaces
Absolutely.
is happening. Because if there
Absolutely.
was proof that it's on the decline, then this wouldn't have happened. So, I
Correct.
mean, this is going. So, this is kind of interesting to note on that. Rahim, anything else on the consumer behavior in terms of, even though but there's an impact, like with respect to your personalization, everyone obviously
So
will have an account. There'll be some account-based marketing happening for luxury space and also identifying people and targeting them. Right, everyone is not approached in the marketing campaigns of the luxury brand. So, how do you think these marketers are approaching this?
So I'll tell you. So what happens here essentially is that so these people, they have a consumer base. Like, you walk into a store and you've been, shopping there, or you've shopped there even like maybe twice.
Hmm.
Like, just gone back, rapidly. What happens with these people is, especially these stylists and these people who are attending to you, they will establish a relationship with you, and they will make sure that they know exactly what you're in the store for. I mean, obviously, when they've built a rapport with you, when they've established a relationship with you, you're going to be telling them, okay, this is my style, this is what I'm looking for, this is what I'm here for. So the third time, you're not going to be going to the store, they're going to be getting you to the store, because you're
Hmm.
going to be getting that one call from them saying, okay, there's something new that has come to the store, right? And once that relationship is built, there is also that sense of, okay, they're calling me, so I'm sure they know what they're calling me for, and
Hmm.
I will definitely walk into that store to know or to see, and which will, most part, will be an a for sure buy, because that stylist or that, attendant knows that, I'm, that they're calling me for
Hmm.
that particular product that they know will sell,
Right.
right? So that consumer behavior has actually become more, I know what I want centric, right?
Hmm.
And especially when we're talking about the luxury segment, when we're talking about luxury products, it has become a lot more in person than it used to be, very honestly, is because of two factors that I feel are very important here. So when I'm spending, a massive amount of money, right? Because luxury items are not cheap. When I'm spending, 50, 60, 70, 80,000 or a lakh or above, I will want to touch and feel the product. I will want to see how it looks. How is it suiting my personality? Is it going with my personality? Is it something that is going to, make me feel worth millions because I'm spending that money, right? And the second bit here is that that only keeps getting, more and more, evident, because there's so many copy products out there,
Hmm.
right? So that market has
Yeah.
become, so diluted that I want to know that I'm actually buying the original product. So if I'm walking into, say, an LV store, I know that I will buy an original product, right?
Hmm.
Versus, say, if I'm buying from maybe a third party vendor online, I'm not sure if I might be getting, the whole packaging, the whole, everything the same, but I don't know if it's actually original unless I get it verified. So, this sort of, has the luxury segment has become a little more, uh, attentive,
Hmm.
have started paying more attention towards actually going and looking at the product, feeling the product, seeing the product, understanding if it's going with, what I want, or how, it goes with me or not. with my personality or not, and then taking that decision. So I think it's become a little more aggressive and a little more personalized in
Yeah.
terms of the behavior. And I think it keeps getting more and more, because very honestly right now, in terms of how much ever we talk about recession or inflation, people are making money, a lot of money,
Hmm.
because right now we're seeing way more billionaires than we did 10 years ago,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
and making millions is become like a piece of cake for everybody who just knows how to use things, how to do things right.
Hmm.
So there's a lot more money in the world today than there was 10 years ago or 15 years ago. And also, that being said, people have the sense to spend.
Yes.
People want to make money so that they can spend.
Hmm.
It's not, we are not living in 15 years ago where the first criteria of earning money was saving, because today people love spending. And I think both of us are also examples of that. We
Hmm.
really like spending, but we like spending where we're getting our money's worth. We're getting an experience out of it. We're taking
That's
something
right.
back that is going to stay with us for probably at least a 6 month or a 1 year down the line, and we're
Hmm.
going to remember that and go back to that experience if it's actually like created an impact. So that, that behavior, with the whole money making aspect, with the whole, I want the experience, I want the real deal, I want the I want to be able to go back to that, has become a lot more aggressive, a lot more intense in terms of
That's right.
how it has evolved.
Yes, within luxury, I think differentiation and exclusivity would be kind of primary thing. Differentiation is obviously the people, the amount of money they are spending on it. They need that when you mention the points where you are differentiating. And exclusivity, I'm talking about the lists and all are created where you have to be part of that, right? And
Yes.
then they deem you to be worthy of the product. So yeah, so those are the like a Bugatti, for example. They have a list of people they will approach for that particular car who can this thing. It's not like you just
So
have
in
money,
fact,
you
in
can
this,
yeah.
absolutely. So in fact, in this, it's the arrogance of the brand that is actually working for these brands. And that's what most people over a period of time have started realizing, that they
Hmm.
make you feel like you owe it
Yeah.
to something or someone, that okay, do I really deserve this brand
Hmm.
because I'm on the list? Because like when you're talking of like even watches, right, for
Hmm.
instance, the Patek Philips of the world, the PKs of the world, I mean, I wouldn't even count Rolex anymore. It's definitely more commercial as a brand, but these brands, they have a wait list of a
Hmm.
year, 8
Yeah.
months, 10 months, 1 year. So I feel consumer behavior has moved to a level where you feel so important with just merely being on a list, or being
Hmm.
like, oh, now I'm getting to own an Hermes finally,
Hmm.
is a different high altogether that people are getting, which for me personally, I don't get it. But yes, there are a lot of people out there in the world who still want to kind of be a part of this, whole rut. And it's that
Yeah.
arrogance of the brand that is really working with luxury today. They're just so arrogant
In fact,
about it.
yeah, in fact, to add to that point, Riddhi, I believe so Rolls Royce will never market, or
Yeah.
obviously they don't need to market because not everybody can afford a Rolls Royce, and beyond that, Rolls Royce doesn't sell to anybody and everybody.
Hmm.
Rolls Royce actually, even if you're a millionaire or a billionaire, they actually do a background check on you before they sell you their product. And how they pick their clientele, they actually advertise and invite people for air shows, which is people who can afford to buy an airliner, a private jet, something like that. And that's where Rolls Royce picks their clientele,
Hmm.
and that's when these people approach Rolls Royce, and Rolls Royce doesn't approach these people. To be,
That's right.
to clear that out,
Also, they could
they
be
are
inviting
approached.
them to these. I've heard there is a
Yes,
charitable function where there's a paintings of very high value or some artifacts.
Yes.
yes,
So they are
Yes.
identifying people
yes,
from that. Yeah.
The Sotheby's
yes. So
auctions, the Christie's auctions, these international auctions, which are really, really like prestigious even to be a part of. That's kind of where these most marketeers market.
That's very interesting. Um, so Riddhi, in terms of the, if you see the luxury brands, startups have also come. Like with that, I'd kind of know of a youngster who was made custom made sneakers and how he made it really big online only. It was just through, his video got viral, and a lot of HNI clients he had accumulated, and then he obviously showed the process, and it was like the next level of personalization in it. You should showcase your certain achievements or what you have done in within the the designing of the shoe and all.
Correct.
So, how do you feel now? The social media is being utilized by the luxury brands, or if you want to become a luxury brand.
Honestly, Nikhil, it's the biggest weapon and tool both that we
Hmm.
have today. And I feel like there is nothing that is bigger and greater in today's day and age than the power of media and social media, especially. Because I'll tell you why it's really critical. Because that's your only way of reaching 5-10 billion people.
Hmm.
And there's no other way that will beat this way. And also, what's essential with the whole social media game today is that you can tell people your story in a pictorial way, in a graphic way, in a
Hmm.
visual way, in a videographic way, in any way possible, even if it's a static, a dynamic, a story, a reel, a video, any form of content it adapts to. So I feel like people are telling their stories, and that kind of somewhere is appealing to a lot of these people in different ways, whether it's a premium luxury, a very, very supremely, luxury product. I feel like they're creating this whole environment about their brand, which is a storytelling way of reaching out to people. And that's kind of where social media has aced the game. So I think it's very critical. And I again, I'm going to say this: it's not only to build the luxury brands; it's just as an overall. Because I feel like a lot of also this role of social media is more important for startup games in luxury.
Hmm.
The more established luxury brands, if you see their entire social media aesthetic, it's not to sell. They never sell.
Hmm.
So you see Chanel campaigns, you see Gucci campaigns, you see anything which is very, very premium on their social media. They will never tell you, like a Jacquemus. I think they have one of the best social media aesthetics I have ever seen a luxury brand kind of have. But theirs is more, these are campaigns we run. This is what we are as a brand. This is how we're doing things differently. Come see us, and that's what it is. It is not about shop us, buy us, buy us, buy us. That's not what they say. So I feel social media is more important with more emerging labels that are going to be playing or placed in the luxury segment than already established luxury labels, because people who know Chanel know its worth. They don't need
Hmm.
to sell it on social media. So it is more storytelling. I feel that has kind of really come out stronger, but that's my take on
That's
it.
right. So Rahim, if like you are taking in any brand comes you in terms of a consultancy thing where you have to create that perception of a luxury brand, they want to get into that space. So what are kind of the major pointers that you look at when you are designing that strategy for them?
So we actually do that for a living. That's a very big part of what we do,
That's it.
and very honestly, it's about how you put the picture of that brand in a consumer's head,
Hmm.
right? Uh, and it could be a brand that sells products worth say $1,000. Like each product could be 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, and right now, like a product worth 10,000 or 20,000 is still considered premium. It's still not luxury, right? Because you're still going to be able to buy it online, right? Because it's easily accessible, it's easily just there. So what sets you apart from this a similar brand doing a similar product in a similar price range, but that brand is known as a premium brand, but you are known as a luxury brand, is the experience that you offer, right? So like Riddhi mentioned, like the storytelling part on social media, where a brand tells the story through campaigns, through what the kind of activations they do. They also raise ambition. They create ambition in a middle class or a lower middle class, sorry, upper middle class's mind, that okay, I want to be able to get to a point where I'm able to afford this without thinking.
Hmm.
Creating that ambition, right? Creating that sense of inclusion, while so obviously a lot of like luxury, like super high end luxury brands, like they have an arrogant side, but I'm talking about more luxury, more affordable luxury kind of segment where they want to be able to enrich the minds, where they're able to empower you to be able to buy them at a certain point. So how you place them, how you include people into your own your ecosystem. um, so for example, there's one brand that we manage, and we had created a whole social media campaign around them, which was basically we created their collection. We basically curated their collection, and we created a whole campaign around it, which was writing a love note from yourself to yourself, from me to me, right? Which was basically to also incorporate a sense of self love, a sense of belonging, a sense of loving yourself before you love anything else, anybody else, a material, another human. And that is when you feel empowered. That is when you open up to a lot more things, and that is this kind of sense of inclusion, that okay, it's okay if you're not able to afford this right now, but being a part of this campaign, being a part of this strategy will make you feel that you belong, that you're a part of something bigger, that you're a part of something that wants you to be a part of it. So
Mhm.
basically, yeah, that sense of inclusion. And then because it's all out on social media, there's so much ease of accessibility right now. Everything is on a touch of a screen. Like if I want to buy something right now, I'm a touch away. I know what I want. I will go to a particular site, I will scroll through 5 images, I will scroll through 5 products, I'm out there, right? But how, like, I have to segregate if I want to sell or if I want to place myself online. So if I'm
Mhm.
there to sell, I am probably premium. If I want to make space, if I want to make a place for
Mhm.
myself, that's luxury.
That's right.
Because like Riddhi said that the luxury brands don't are not there to sell. They're there to say that okay, we're here, this is our story, where do you see yourself with us?
That's right. So, Rahim, as a
So
luxury
that's
brand, are you saying that push strategy is totally, there is no push strategy involved at all?
there's more inclusion, there's
Okay.
more storytelling, there's more no, push will not work, very honestly. It's because also people who are able to buy luxury, who are able to afford luxury, want their space. They don't want
Hmm.
something thrown in my face all the time. I don't want to be told that okay, there is this is your, this is your, this is your, go buy, go buy, go buy,
That's right.
no, right?
That's
I
right.
want that
So
space for
pushing
myself.
within your
If I need,
list also is not a viable thing. That is what is coming out of the discussion. Like in terms of you're
remind,
maintaining your image as a luxury brand, basically.
yes, I mean, relationship is different, pushing is different. Again,
Yeah.
like I mentioned earlier, I believe creating, establishing that relationship and inviting your client or your customer to come buy is a different story altogether, against going on about it and telling them okay, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. Because a lot of people don't have the time or the energy to be able to like cater to every message or every call that they get. And it becomes, after a certain point, it becomes invasive. And you're just being told all
Yeah.
the time that okay, this is happening, just attend
Yeah,
to this, attend to
that's
that,
that's
attend
where
to
the
this. I don't want
differentiation
that
would come,
as
because you are kind of doing the same thing which the million or the brands are doing. So you don't want to.
yes,
The basis of
yes.
luxury is the differentiation factor, even with your marketing, I would say. Awesome.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Awesome. So, Riddhi and Ram, there have been a shift, obviously, over a period of time of, the perception of the consumer. Even a Gen Z, which is there, which maybe from a privileged background would also come under a luxury category in terms of to be sold to. They are looking at the where sustainable and ethically produced goods. So even within the luxury space, how do you think that is kind of panning out in terms of designing your branding around this? Also, it could be a part of your product and what you're doing, but a little bit you can shed light on that. So yeah, Riddhi.
Honestly, I feel, Nikhil, this is like a really funny thing, but I know a lot of people who talk about veganism, sustainability, organic clothing, organic fashion, all of that. Eventually, what we've realized, over a period of time, if it looks good, people are going to buy it. And that's all that it boils down to. As much as we want to deny it, I am telling you, because anything which is, of course, if it's organic and if it's for the good of the for the planet, and if it looks good, that's like a cherry on the cake. But I also know of a lot of brands that are doing sustainable clothing, but it might not be as appealing, and their sales are probably showing it that it is, and at the end of it, then isn't it? If it's a business, if it's a brand, you're all doing it for the sales and the revenue. So
Hmm.
I just honestly feel like it's become so much more like I don't know how many brands are truly authentic to the concept of it's okay if I don't do well commercially. I still want to be very sustainable and ethical as a brand
Hmm.
versus I need to sell my clothes and I need to make money
That's
out
it.
of this. And is this a way of doing it? I'm telling people because at the end of it, the numbers are going to show. So I know for a fact of so many of our friends or family, eventually they're going to be like, I don't care whether it's organic or not. Yeah, acha lag raha hai. It looks great on me. I love wearing this, and I'm going to shop it no matter what. So I feel honestly in today's day and age, it's become more a marketing gimmick to
Hmm.
call yourself or to try and go the sustainable route than
Hmm.
actually having a lot of brands, which I also do know there are, who are really true to their concept, who are not as profitable, but they're
Hmm.
doing it for the cause. So it's kind of,
That's
yeah.
right. Could be also a case of marketing campaign since you're getting all this media attention on
Yes.
sustainability and all that. So you're creating that maybe in the back end it could not be happening actually what you're showing
No,
and what it is.
exactly. And
So
it's
yeah.
not because we work with so many brands here and there, and we know the fact that there are so many entrepreneurs who are truly true to the concept of sustainability, but they're
Hmm.
not making money. And eventually, your brand has to make money. You won't survive or
Hmm.
you won't sustain. And also, Nikhil, another thing is there are so many people in this space today. It's
Hmm.
not just 10, 15, 30 odd brands, right, that are doing
Hmm.
it.
Yeah.
If you go on Instagram and you see people's bios,
Hmm.
there's so much of sustainability, and it's literally just too much of it. That's
Yes.
not a setting apart factor anymore. That's not a differentiator anymore.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I mean, in terms of, but Riddhi, ethically, when we say that, a workforce is being ethically treated and all that, how does that work out in the luxury spaces that being followed, or how like, is there any transition or change happened in the last few years?
See, I know for a fact that there are a lot of
Yeah.
people who are more conscious about the fact that
Hmm.
their workforce, their teams, the way the people are treated
Hmm.
internally is going to kind of affect the overall image of the brand. I do know of a lot of people feeling that, but also that comes from a place probably of insecurity because retention of manpower is such an issue today that they feel
Hmm.
like, okay, if I don't treat my people well, they're just going to leave me, and there are 7,000 other options that they're going to go to.
Hmm.
So, they might, and also we know of brands, both Rahim and I have kind of experienced, and, we've probably even worked with brands that are far from ethical, but they show so much, ethics on their social media that it's really funny because it's like a facade,
Hmm.
We know of this happening in corporate, and it's not just in fashion. Nikhil, you'll agree with
Yeah,
me. It's in probably a lot of different luxury spaces and industries, not
that's
just in
right.
apparel or clothing. So it's really very, tricky because I know of the smallest of brands and organizations who are doing really wonderful work, but who've
Hmm.
had their teams for 5, 10 years. And that really shows some substance. That shows that, okay, there's somebody who stayed with you for 4 years or 5 years. There is something right that you're doing with your teams.
Hmm.
There is something ethical about your brand, all in all. But
That's right.
honestly, it's just, I feel like this whole model ground has become like a thing just to speak for social media. It's like propaganda.
That's right. That's why when I'm interacting with like people coming up, just students who are making the transition into a particular, career or industry, I tell them that end of the day, the core of the work is something which you should kind of enjoy doing on a day-to-day basis. Because Rest of the things is
Exactly.
marketing, social media, what perception is created. So on the basis of that, don't join them, because you kind of will be in for a surprise, like what is showing and what actually is there. So yeah, I mean, that
It's the
is
most masked version. It's the most
yeah.
masked version of any brand or company, because that's probably not what really is about that brand that you see on social media.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, like something like a hospitality industry also, you would perceive that, but the people working at the back end, the amount of hours they're
Absolutely.
putting and what kind of environment, that is a different story, within that. Yeah, so you got
Absolutely.
to understand that. Yeah.
So, I'll tell you something. When we're talking about producing luxury goods and the work that goes behind it, if you notice, most of these luxury brands have their say clothing or apparel or their product actually manufactured in maybe China or Vietnam or India or Bangladesh or Sri Lanka, in countries where the labor is cheaper. So that
And
the
the labor
labor, the
laws are also not
material.
that much enforceable or defined or
Correct.
whatever.
Exactly.
Correct.
Exactly. So when we're talking about, ethically produced luxury goods, I believe there's probably just 2% brands or businesses that are actually like following that, which also, adds value to the worth of what they're selling. So if I am buying a bag worth, say, 1.5 lakh or 2 lakh rupees, I should be able to see value in every strand that goes into that bag,
Hmm.
whether it be because okay, like people who are buying that bag will actually not care about what has gone behind it. They'll actually care about what the actual final product is, how it looks, how it feels, how I'm going to be projected in front of five other
Hmm.
people where I'm going for a party or where
Hmm.
I'm going for a get together, or I'm in a gathering, and if I pull out my, I don't know, maybe an LB or a Gucci wallet and put it on the table because
Hmm.
it's a status symbol. It's there that okay, I can afford it, but can you?
So just to
It's
add on to
become a
that,
battle. Yeah.
that's why beyond a particular price point, when you're paying so much for a product, it is honestly just the aesthetic and the quality over the sustainability factor. Nobody's going to be like, oh, is this a sustainable product? Because I'm like paying 6 lakh for it. To be
Hmm.
very logical and practical about it, it isn't
Hmm.
that. It is about, oh, is this only going to be owned by me? Is this an exclusive collection? Is it a limited edition? It's questions like that that are asked eventually.
That's right.
There's brands out there, and I mean, that sound like a hypocrite right now, but I'm wearing one right now, which this sells T-shirts for 30-40,000 rupees. Right, I'm talking about 500, 600, $700 is what this brand sells their T-shirts at. I would expect something like this to actually like give me a massage if I was buying a shirt like this. If I was buying a T-shirt like this, but it's just another cotton T-shirt
Hmm.
with something which is a nicely printed T-shirt. It's got some really good graphic. It's got really good designing. But what at the end of it, it feels like the same 500 rupee T-shirt that I bought from H&M or
Hmm.
that I bought from Style Union for all I could say. Actually, that 500 rupee T-shirt actually feels better
Hmm.
in terms of how the texture is and how it feels on my body, whether if it is giving me any kind of rash, if it's hard, if it's not. So all this has become such a gimmick at the end of the day that हाँ ठीक है सोशल मीडिया को बोलने के लिए नो वी आर अ लग्जरी
Hmm.
सस्टेनेबल product, but after two washes your product is still going to go back to the drain.
Hmm.
So it's just a facade at the end of the day, and it's people buy it. That's the consumer
That's
mindset,
right.
and that is what these luxury brands have been playing on since the last few the paradigm shift in the last probably like 6 7 8 years.
That's right. Yeah, because I think at a marketing level, it is the trends at the end of the day. If some one person has to really make a change, either it's a part of in a group of people in an industry when they're coming together or something where they are make certain policy agreements or whatever. That is a different thing. Or a person or CEO is really going down a path where they are looking at that when we discuss about ethically things. So that's a different marketing sphere of the thing, branding and all. It is what you mentioned is the product and perception and how you feel you're wearing it or awesome.
Right.
So, influencer marketing, like I would say, last 10 years, it's come up majorly because of these platforms and all. Now, what is the perception really like in terms of how it has to be used? Because it cannot be used like how it's used for every other product out there, right? With the promo codes, coupon promotions, blogs, and all that. So, in luxury space, actually, if you are the marketing strategist, like how do you firstly identify influencer or celebrity for that, and how do you kind of integrate your brand into their content?
So honestly, it's a very interesting question, because with a luxury brand, the brand also has to be very, and I know for a fact that they are very careful, even with who is wearing their product, right? Or who's marketing it, or who's speaking about it. So we also know about a lot of Indian luxury brands in they could be Indian couture labels. But they're very particular. And why do they select a particular influencer over the other? Because it's not just the aesthetic of that influencer, it's not just how that influencer might carry that garment, it's also because the kind of people who are following that influencer, it's a message given to them. And that's very important for a luxury brand, right? An influencer could do exceptional sales for one brand, which could be a premium product also, but that might not fit your bill, as a product or as a luxury label, if that influencer does not resonate with the values you stand for as a brand. And that's very important. And that's what I think most people don't get right. Because they feel, oh, this is a great, like she's a celebrity on social media. She's doing so wonderful. She has like 1 lakh, 5 lakh likes and she has a 1 million, 3 million, 5 million, 10 million engagement on a reel. But is that influencer's messaging correct? And does that resonate with what your brand stands for? That is very important. And we do know of a lot of entrepreneurs who've got that right. We've worked with a few and they said, no, I'm very particular because I don't want an ex celebrity or an ex influencer to wear me, because that's not what my market is. That's not what my brand stands for. Whereas a lot of others kind of dilute the fact that I want sales. At the end of the day, even though I'm a luxury product, I need to do well. I need to appeal to a larger audience. So that's another battle. I think marketing wise, what's also very interesting to notice here, Nikhil, is a lot of people who have actually catered to a particular segment of a demography or a population are now actually moving to a wider population because they feel that that population is not doing justice enough to the brand or the product or the sales. So let us try and experiment. So there's a lot of experimental marketing that's going on. Like one particular celebrity has been maybe with, for example, there's L'Oreal, right? And of course, I wouldn't count that as maybe luxury today. But L'Oreal as a brand has had Aishwarya, I think, for the last 15 years,
No,
probably more. Yeah.
more than that. Yeah.
Correct. But with the evolving audience mindset, they have had to have a lot more a lot more celebrities, a lot more influencers who are from the younger demography, even though they've not let go of the Aishwarya. She's still there, but they're experimenting with the younger faces. And I know a lot of younger celebrities and influencers who are doing some amazing campaigns with L'Oreal and who are going to Cannes with them.
Mhm.
So it's a lot of experimental marketing with influencers because they feel this is not enough. Like maybe this influencer's population has seen me enough. They've experienced me enough. So now I need to maybe shift to A, B, C and not D, for a while to understand, is A working for me maybe better than D? Right? In all aspects. Could be positioning, could be brand asset value, could also be revenue. So that's kind of what's
That's
happening with the whole influencer marketing space.
That's right. Didi, like, what would you say certain celebrities, there's a perception of them. Like, when you look at the luxury of premium category, when you're looking at, can you, like, tell some celebrities where the first thing that premium aspect comes when you mention their name and they are kind of favorites for these luxury brands?
So that's actually really interesting because there are now two ways of looking at this, right? One
Yeah.
is someone like a Deepika Padukone, okay, who's just pure regality and royalty and just the way she carries herself, apart from her talent and her fan following, right?
Hmm.
It's just sheer brilliance. When whatever she wears, whatever she endorses, is kind of
Mm.
becomes iconic in a way. She's also one of the biggest, one of the only Indian global ambassadors for a Louis Vuitton, and stuff like that. So she's
Mm.
gone, she's taken luxury a notch higher, with endorsements and with having to do these campaigns. Whereas on the flip side, there's somebody like an Ananya Pandey, right?
Mm.
Who's probably not as commercially big. I mean, she's beautiful and she's done some wonderful stuff, but she's not as commercially big or she doesn't have the fan base as a Deepika. But she's just recently kind of signed as the face of Jimmy Choo. And that
Mm.
is a totally different kind of a celebrity demography that you're catering to,
Mm.
who is very stylish. She's extremely
Yeah.
stylish. She's very fashionable. She's got that perfect figure, that size
Mm.
zero figure. So that is a totally different
Mm.
aspect of
So she
how you
might have a really good base among like rich kids. So they are most followers. So that would then you have to place her within her content because
exactly. So
yeah,
you understand one is like more
yeah,
iconic globally and like just there. She's just beautiful in the way she can.
yeah,
But one could be a very specific niche, but she's just
yeah,
still getting these luxury endorsements and people
yeah.
are still going to her maybe because yes she does, I'm sure she has a great fan base, but apart from that it's also just the way they both advertise that
Mm.
particular brand is very different.
That's right. That's right. Awesome. Generally, so Rahim, in this influencer marketing, you're looking at your the views, the clicks, the promo code. But what would be a differentiator in terms of statistics or way of looking at a report when it comes to influencer marketing with for luxury brands, basically?
Wow, that's actually very interesting. See, very honestly, I feel influencer marketing, the game has entirely changed right now.
Mm.
From what it was maybe 2 years ago,
Correct.
post pandemic, it has become very different. And I believe brands have become much more conscious
Mm.
with influencers. And why I say this is because a lot of brands have started moving from the bigger influencers to the micro and mini influencers.
Mm.
And I'll tell you why. The bigger influencers, of course, they have their own market, they have their own niche, they have their own target audience. But like Riddhi said, that particular brand, or that the particular audience, the target audience is probably bored looking at that influencer wearing the same kind of things, wearing the same kind of brand, the same product. Whereas where you're looking at micro influencers with say a 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 following, mini influencers, and micro influencers under the 10K following, yet creating such good content for that particular brand, that 40, 50, 60,000 of say maybe 10 influencers creating an impact towards 6 lakh people or 5 lakh people
Mm.
will actually make more sense, because these smaller influencers, these micro mini influencers, they're much more reachable.
Mm.
They're much more, like
There's
I'm,
more
if
influence per se within us that smaller number.
Correct.
yes,
There is a more influence
yes,
and a direct connect, basically. Yeah,
because there's more reality involved,
yeah.
because there is more personal touch, so to say, and I'm more accessible as a smaller influencer. I'm more accessible to be able to answer certain questions. Say if I have a if an influencer has a following of say 15,000 or 20,000 versus an influencer that has a like a 200K or say a 500K or a million, right? They're not going to go through all their DMs. They're not going to check who's messaging what kind of queries I'm getting, what kind of
Hmm.
feedback I'm getting from my my followers, my smaller my smaller league of followers, versus a 15,000 person going through every DM, going through every feedback, going through every message that comes in. Even if they're not responding to all of them, they're
Hmm.
actually able to see them,
Hmm.
because that influencer with 500K following is probably getting 5,000 messages a day, versus
Yeah.
this person getting maybe like 50, 100, 200 messages, which is very easily accessible. It's very I will be able to see that. And this is something that a lot of brands have realized. I'm not talking about the bigger brands with who have ambassadors against brands who use influencers, who need influencers, um, because they understand that if I have a budget spending of say 5 lakhs for an influencer marketing, I'd rather give it to 10 different influencers who will charge me 50,000 for maybe four posts or three posts versus against, one influencer who will take 5 lakhs from me against just one post.
Hmm.
And this consciousness has come to a lot of brands, and they realize that this will keep my audience diversified, yet I will get a bigger target audience.
I want to add on to this, which is, I don't know, a point that we've probably missed. A larger influencer, say a 1 million, 2 million, 5 million up following, okay? We realized that they are also somebody who does, they promote a Longines or a Bulgari versus somebody, and the same influencer is also promoting a 10,000 rupee product because they're paid for it. Now, when we talk about that, right? Their following is not just niche, it's also the people who use mass and premium brands. So when you're gauging engagement, it's very tricky because that audience could be, the engagement of that particular reel could be 500K, but out of those 500K, only a 50K is the luxury viewers or luxury shoppers. The other 450K is not even my audience. It's not even somebody who will afford a 5 lakh rupee bag. So that the audience is extremely diluted for a larger influencer to be able to gauge right engagement, as opposed to a content specific influencer who's kind of specializing in a niche content, which is also very difficult, in order to scale and make money. Obviously they need to kind of take on more brands, take on different kinds of brands, but somebody who's more content specific, their engagement and their study and their analytics will be much more real and actual on actuals versus somebody who's a 5 million following, and whose engagement and reach is great, but how many people from those 5 million are actually luxury shoppers? Probably just 80,000.
That's right.
And just to add on to this exact point, I was just coming to a similar point here, is that if you look, and I'm just being very like candid here, if you look at an Alia promoting a Maza, where she actually in her interviews, in her life, in her personal life, talks about actually not having any kind of sugar. She does not consume sugar, she does not consume dairy, she doesn't endorse it as a thing, but she's endorsing a product that is the exact opposite of what she's endorsing in real life, right? Versus what an influencer, and I'm just giving an example, versus an influencer who does content specific stuff in real life is much more relatable to a client, to a particular audience. Because I know that, okay, if a certain, yes, of course they're doing it for money, I'm not going to deny that. A lot of them do it for money, but they also believe in what they're selling, in what they're promoting, right? And that makes it much more relatable for me. So if I am going to, say if I'm going online and I'm scrolling through, a shirt, or I don't know, maybe a suit that I'm wearing, I'm looking at, maybe a Ranveer Singh wearing, I'm not going to go give it a second look, very honestly, because I know that this guy has a very different sense of, style or fashion than what I see myself wearing, right? So I'm not going to go give it a second thought. Whereas, I don't know, maybe a smaller influencer with, somebody who's wearing a nice suit to somebody's, like a friend's wedding, I would relate more to that because that's more real. I'm going to be wearing that suit, going to somebody's wedding or going for a function, and I'll be able to see myself more easily and be able to relate more easily to something like that than a Ranveer Singh who's actually
That's
like,
right. But do you think that's
somewhere
why
else.
Ranveer Singh, like, obviously, uh, his clothing and all was very wild few years ago. Now he's not, having that. Maybe it's something
He's
also, like, if you just, like, hypothetically, business aspect is key, that perception is not happening of a, a user, like a premium user, unlike a suit-based company or something will not come to him. Like, so he's losing out on that also. So could be like hypothetically just something.
No, absolutely. And I feel like, just to, add on to what Reem said and maybe to kind of
Hmm.
tweak that a little bit, we're
Yeah.
not saying that luxury products should not go with larger celebrities or influencers.
larger
There
influence.
is an
Yeah.
audience base
Yeah.
for all of these people. So
That's
there
right.
is, it's just you need to be very specific about who your demography is and pick people and see engagement basis that. That's all.
That's right. That's right. I mean, like within this, I think one very important thing you said, that the followers are their luxury. Like there has to be certain techniques that you follow as a marketer, where you are identifying a follower base as a more premium category. So there would be that is in the back end, and definitely companies can reach out to you and talk to you regarding. But there are definitely techniques within that where within a
Yeah.
follower base you have to establish that is majorly the
Correct.
target audience there basically. Yeah,
Correct. Correct.
awesome. Great. So I think we'll wrap it up. I think it's been a great podcast here of the trends in the the luxury industry. So I would like to thank both of you, Rahim and Riddhi, for coming down and taking out your precious time for the MI podcast.
Thank you so much for having us. It was absolutely wonderful. We had a great time chatting about it, and it's always really exciting to talk about, the space that we're in, and to share our thoughts and to have that shared too from your end.
Awesome, awesome. But just before we wrap up, like just closing words, maybe we can go into certain things maybe coming up in the future in this category. Maybe if you've not covered it, you will all want to just share it, any trend or anything, the way the marketing functions within the industry. So I'll start off with Rahim.
Okay. So I think a lot of what we spoke about in the last hour and a half, I believe, we've missed out, or I don't know if we've included, but there's a lot of evolution happening uh, in terms of product, in terms of technology, in terms of consumer behavior, in terms of people, how the spending power, in terms of earning power. So there's a huge evolution that's going on, and that evolution is ongoing. It's not like it's happening today and it's not going to happen tomorrow. It is going to be a thing that is going to last and keep going. And for anybody who's looking, who's thinking or looking at starting something, or have already started something and is looking to grow in terms of scaling, in terms of revenue, in terms of visibility, or anything that may be, the point of evolution has to be kept in the mind, because um, the world is changing, and if we are not changing with the world, we're going to be left
Yeah,
behind.
and like it's a general
There's
thing when
so
we say
many.
the world is changing, but I think the rapidity of now how it's happening with the
Yes,
technologies
yes,
is
exactly.
the pace
I
has
was just
become crazy. Yeah.
Exactly. I was just coming to that. In fact, there's so many, there have been so many companies who've shut down, but have been pioneers in actually, like, in industries. We're talking about, say, maybe like a Kodak,
Hmm.
which was an iconic company back in the day, but we don't hear of it anymore. It was a trendsetter. It was somebody, who made photography a thing. And
Hmm.
today we don't know of Kodak, because every phone has a camera.
Hmm.
Everybody knows how to
Yeah.
shoot an image or a video. So they forgot to evolve at that time. They forgot to move into a segment that would probably cater. They probably didn't materialize or capitalize on the fact that phones were having cameras, and maybe uh, Kodak could provide the camera for these phones.
Hmm.
While so just evolution, like I said, the world is changing, and so are we. And if we're not we don't move our businesses or brands towards the evolution of what the consumer wants, or what the
Hmm.
consumer is looking for, or the consumer needs, we might be left behind. And I think I think I'll close my statement with that.
That's right. Thanks a lot, Rahim, for joining us. So, Riddhi, any now the same closing words on that on this particular
Sure.
luxury industry? Yeah. Yeah.
I just feel like in the next 5 to 10 years, the power of technology is going to be multifold in like even luxury. And I also feel that there is this thing which is the metaverse that is coming up that is going to be
Hmm.
path breaking in ways more than you can imagine, whether you're talking of real estate space, whether you're talking of experience, I mean, like creating these shopping experiences in the metaverse, creating, I mean, it's just going to be off the roof.
Hmm.
And I know like NFTs and just the whole concept has come up and it's coming up, and fashion, luxury, and everything is also going to kind of parallelly be evolving
Hmm.
and growing in that space as well. So I don't think people understand what that reality will ever be. But I just feel that we need to be ready for just technology taking over our lives in a really large way.
That's it. Awesome. Thanks a lot, Riddhi, also for joining
Thank
and taking out a precious time. And to the audience, please subscribe to the MI Podcasting on YouTube. We're also on all the major podcast platforms that are there. A lot of interesting guests are coming on and sharing the perspective they've worked on the brands back and also have interesting stories about them as well. Thanks a lot. Thanks for your time and see you all. Take
thank
care.
you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.